Well, welcome to the Tour of Taihu Lake. What a marvellous race it's been. This is the 8th edition. Let's just take a look back at how it all started in the city of Wuxi. It was a 5.3 kilometre prologue. Ben Hill, the young Australian, looking to open his account strongly. But it was this man, Guillaume Boivin, the French-Canadian, who opened up a blistering time. Chungking-Lok, the Hong Kong rider, looking to become the best Chinese. Techkov, he was the favourite, but he only just missed the mark. It was Boivin who would take the opening lead in the 8th edition of Taihu Lake. Chungking-Lok, the best Chinese rider. Jason Lowndes wearing the blue jersey as the best young rider. Stage 1, the Wuxi Binhu circuit, 111 kilometres. And the clouds rolled in, and so did the rain. The dignitaries set the riders off on course. It was rain jackets and vests. The wind was blowing. And it was a chance for a breakaway to go clear, and that's what it did. Cartier here, the Canadian, at the rear, bridging across to the break and driving it the instant he got there. Vitaly Bartz, the rider for Kols, the Ukrainian, he was frustrated. He believed they had a chance to win, but it wasn't to be. In the end, the sprinters teams took control and brought back all of the remaining breakaway riders. The team of Jakub Mareczko was lining him up for sprint victory number 11 in this great bike race. Mareczko looked set to take line honours, but it was his compatriot and main rival, Nicolas Marini, who took it out. The joy on Marini's face. Boivin, he held on to the lead by just a slender 1 second over New Zealander Morgan Smith. Marini proved on day one that he was the man to beat. Stage 2, Wujin to West Taihu Lake. And a beautiful part of the world. Beautiful it may have been, but the conditions at the start were once again damp. The riders rugged up. Boivin, he was hoping for some clearer skies, but it wasn't to be. The riders rolled out with a little bit of trepidation, but still the motivation was clear. The pace set off was a high tempo, and two riders broke clear once again. Cartier and Butts, 2 days in the break. They were motivated. Cartier, the big Canadian, was keen to drive and push the tempo. Butts was willing to help. They hit the finishing circuits, opened up a gap of over 2 minutes, and just maybe they could dream a little. But the Peloton, they always had them in their sights. Even on the opposite side of the circuit, they could see where they were at. So Cartier decided enough was enough, and he went on the attack. He left Butts in his wake and soloed towards the finish. But again, the power of the Peloton had other ideas. The sprinters teams took over. And this time, Vilja Triestina, the team of Jakub Mareczko, led him all the way to the line to claim his first stage win of this year's race. Chungking-Lok, he held firm in the red. Things were looking good for the rider from Hong Kong. Guillaume Boivin, he held the lead still by 1 second, but the sprinters were getting closer. We move to stage 3, Wujing to Tianjin, 134.3 kilometres. And what a backdrop and a setting it was to be. The Moon Hotel, that was the start of the stage. Mareczko signing on. Nerves of steel for the man from Italy. The riders set off, this time under dry conditions. It was a welcome relief, and for Jason Lowndes, with the Moon Hotel in the background, he would launch the first attack. but the Peloton set a blistering pace. Attacks tried, frustrations were shown, but the pace was just too high. In the end, it was Castillo and inCycle who would try to go clear. They pushed hard, and two more rode across. It was Butts once again, and the ever-present figure of Ben Hill, the Australian, discussing there with Castillo some tactics, but the gap never rose too high. Hill drove the break. The gap came down. Hill decided it was time to go it alone with 5 kilometres to go. But it was to no avail. The sprinters' teams took control once more. United Healthcare, the blue team, the American outfit, tried to take an early sprint. But it was down to Morini and Marechko on the line took it out once again. The general classification, consolation for Morini. He took the lead by just 1 second.
Marechko today had better legs. I can say that I'm happy with the second place, but at least I had the general leading, and we will try again tomorrow. I think there is a stage that I won last year, so I hope to repeat.
So it feels strange you lost the sprint, but you're in orange. Would you rather win the sprint or?
Yeah, I prefer win the stage because, as I said, I'm searching for a team, so I have to do my best to show myself and to try to find a good team for the next year, I hope.
So we move to stage 4, Wujiang, 117.4 kilometres. Traditional dance and the Chinese dragon was what welcomed the riders to the start of the stage. Our dignitaries set the riders off on course. Once again, it was dry skies. Sun was shining, but the riders were keen to race and race hard. A breakaway formed of some 5 riders. The Eritrean national team present once again. Always within their grasp though. The Peloton were never going to let them go too far. They were dragged back in, and in the closing stages, Marechko, the sprinter, had punctured. There were no gentlemen's agreements. St George cycling team leading the charge towards the line. Marechko fought, he fought hard, and he rejoined in the closing 2 kilometres. He was brought to the front, but was it enough? Did he have enough time? The sprint was hectic. They came around the final bend. Riders everywhere. And Marechko in the green jersey, once again in that aerodynamic position, challenged by Morini, but it wasn't enough.
Jakob, tough sprint, tough day, and now you have the orange jersey, I believe.
Yeah, I think that I take it. So I'm happy for that, and I see day by day what I can do with them.
So Marechko, he leads now. Nicolas Marini at 3 seconds. Carlos Azzate moves up to 3rd overall standings. For Marechko, it's familiar ground, wearing the leader's orange jersey. Cheong King Lok holds firm in the red, and the Brazilian, the most combative of the day. It's all to race for in stage 5 of the Tour of Taihu Lake. cities of Nantong and the county city of Hainan sit on the northern banks of the Yangtze River. It opens up to the East China Sea. Cities of colour, history, culture, and beautiful tranquility. The people live in peace and harmony. They enjoy a good lifestyle. It's a city of modern architecture and an international port that is booming. Its geographical location makes it vital to just that. With a population of some 7.5 million, 4 airports surround the surrounding area. It's also an ecological city. It's the birthplace of China's modern industry. The first cotton mills founded in 1899. And not just cotton, rice, fishing, farming, and a big push for organic foods. Hainan, surrounded by the Hao River, it's known as the Emerald Necklace of Nantong. It surrounds the city length, some 15 kilometres. So let's take a look now at stage 5, 148 kilometres, the longest stage of the race so far. Starts off with 2 smaller circuits. Then they follow the river along to the finishing circuits where they'll do 4 laps, 3 sprints. It's going to be a great stage. Well, the spirits on the line can't be dampened. They're dressed appropriately in readiness for this stage start. Plenty of action at each of the stage starts. Traditional dancers and of course our dignitaries who are always here to present the riders. Sign in commenced. Riders once again, jackets on. Ben Hill there, all smiles for him. Gyambo Van, the man who won the opening prologue. Jakub Mareczko, 3 wins for him, 13 in total. Nicolas Marini.
So Matt, involved in the crash yesterday, bit of a battered and bruised hand. How are you feeling?
Yeah, my hand's a wee bit sore, but I'm feeling okay. Would be nicer if the weather was dry, make you feel a little bit safer on the bike, but otherwise all is good.
Carlos, another wet day, another flat day. What's the plan?
The plan is stay in the bike, no crash. Today is too many corners, so it's easy for the crashes. Stay in the front and protect the 3 positions that you see.
Is there a chance to get away? I mean, is it too flat today for a break to stay away, do you think?
I think yes, it's possible. And yeah, we'll see how it's gonna be, but yeah, it's possible because this kind of weather, you know, like can arrive some breakaway like around 10 even seconds, because like last laps, turns, some crashes, the guys just break more. That should be, and yeah, it's possible.
And looking at it, Mareczko wins the next 2 stages maybe. He's 30-40 seconds ahead come the last stage. Do you think you can get that back? How much of a lead do you think you can give him?
Well, I think the last stage, it's a bit out of our hands. We're hoping for like a hard enough day that it'll blow out to be like a minute, like minutes gap. But he's got a strong team, and it depends a lot on the other teams if they want to also have an active, aggressive race, and if we can put Willier on the back foot. But it's kind of like we'll just go with the flow, and if it is hard enough, that's good. If it's not, then oh well.
So the riders lining up on the start line there. Nicolas Marini, he's probably wondering how he can get the better of this man here, Jakub Mareczko. The Italian, Polish-born, moved to Italy when he was just 5 years of age. Comes from Brescia, the northern part of Italy. Our dignitaries set the riders off. Under wet conditions. Not really normal for this race to have so many wet days, but it is part and parcel of professional cycling. And the riders are well aware of that. Didn't take long for the first attack of the day, almost a half-hearted attempt. I think maybe just to keep warm, get things moving along. Well, Team Coles, they didn't mess around. They've been very active. Well, one of their main men, Vitaly Butts, he's been on the move almost every day this year's race. But the interesting thing is so many riders still eager to race late in the season. Riders looking for contracts. Nicolas Marini, he's made that very clear. He said it a couple of times to our reporters. He is without a contract for next year. So that victory for him on stage one could be more crucial than what he realises. So the Coles rider here, trying to go clear. And the Peloton fan across the road. Just maybe they're going to let a major break go today. One rider now trying to go across. And you can just see the small amount of tibberness through the corner there, and you can see the dampness on the road as they came out of that corner. And just those white lines just make it a little bit slippery, a little bit dangerous. So just reminding everyone, 3 sprints today, intermediate sprints before the finish. They carry bonification seconds, which are beginning to show just how important these seconds are. 3, 2 and 1. So first across the line will get 3 bonification seconds knocked off their overall time. And it just could decide this race, who knows. And that looks like the Israel Academy rider there, number 15. And that's Mikhail Reim, who's gone across. And so now let's look at what happened at Sprint 1. Well, the Peloton looked like it had come back together. A bit of a split at the front. Push towards the line. And that looks like Jan Bovan, the French-Canadian. A bit of a punch of the air there for the intermediate sprint. And it looked like another one of the Coles riders. In fact, it could have been Vitaly Butts. Vitaly Butts, I should say. And it was Jan Bovan. He was there as well. And John Abasturi took the 1 second. So Butts looking for extra sprint points. Looks like his teammate was away on sprint 2. Cartier, the Canadian, in second place there. So Cartier active as well. So Cartier took second place. Adri Batashuk and Castillo, the Mexican, taking third. So a small group off the front. And the team of Jakub Mareczko, Vilja Triestina, setting a tempo at the front. So now let's go to live picks, live pictures of today's stage. Stage 5, Nantong, Hainan, 148 kilometres. Breakaway has been established. Machado, Van Engelen, Cartier again, Castillo and Brasachuk. So a few of those riders from that second intermediate sprint have managed to stay away in that break. Cartier, the Canadian. He's been very active in this race so far, one of the most aggressive. So too this man, the Mexican Castillo. Good to see him back after breaking his leg and ankle earlier this year for Team Jelly Belly. 2 days ago he made the break with the Eritrean rider. The gap, 1 minute 20 seconds, 1 minute 21. 65 kilometres to go, so everything under control for the peloton. But there's always a chance. Terrible conditions. Makes it very hard. You can see there on the front, just playing with the glasses, just trying to get that perfect sort of position on the bike, and with his helmet and cap, you can see the peak of his cap. He's got it as low as possible to try and block as much of the water that splashes up. The only advantage for the rider on the front here is setting the tempo. Of course, he's working harder because he's in the wind, but he gets no splash up from anyone else in front of him. It's the riders behind him, and in the middle of the peloton, that's where all the water just gets sprayed up into the face and onto your lenses. Eventually, you have to take the glasses off. And of course, the motorbikes, if they get too close to the riders, sometimes they don't get too happy about that either, but that causes water to splash everywhere as well. But they're a big part of it because they provide these brilliant live pictures that we've got today. One of the Brazilian riders there, number 45, also in the breakaway. They were active yesterday. And that's Machado, Gabriel Machado, who is in the break. Just 37 seconds off the lead. Most of that would be time bonuses from Jakob Marechko. Alexis Cartier, the Canadian, I've talked about him a lot. So too this man, Castillo, he's at 30 seconds. Number 146, Adri Bratuschuk. And number 96 there, Van Engelen, riding for the German squad, Bike Aid. Been relatively quiet so far in this race, but they're present today, so that's good signs for Team Bike Aid. There's Marechko, the sprinter. Nicolas Marini, he's got the jacket on. Really is trying and testing conditions. I tell you who I feel for the most, I think it's the same for everyone, but teams like the Eritrean national team, don't think they'd be used to these cold, wet conditions from where they come from, but they are doing a mighty job. They had 3 riders crash out, I think, on the opening road stage, so they haven't had a great time, but the 2 riders that are still in the race have been very active indeed. They've almost been in the main break on each day. Nicolas Marini, well, he's got time for a smile and a wave, so too his teammates, so maybe it's not as bad as what we say. No, Marini, he's always very happy to talk to our reporter on the start line and the finish line. And for a rider who has stated that he does not have a contract for the 2018 season, he's a man that stays calm, gets on with the job. Marechko, he's got the better of him on the last 3 occasions, but Marini did draw first blood on the opening road stage, and he did it convincingly on that stage. He really did. It was a strong sprint, and I don't think he's done yet. He's got a couple more chances. I can't imagine he'll figure on the final stage. And that is the big question. What will that final stage throw up at us? So, 1 minute 22 seconds, 63.4 kilometres to go. Villa Trestina on the front, controlling the peloton. .63 kilometres to go. The gap is 1 minute and 21 seconds. Yeah, we're looking at the peloton here. We've got a breakaway, of some 5 riders. No one that is a serious threat, although most of the riders in the breakaway are sitting at about 30 seconds. In any normal race, you would say that is a huge threat because they're virtual leaders on the road. With that gap of 1 minute 20, they are virtually in the lead of the race. So if they could change jerseys at this point, it would be one of these riders right here that would actually take that orange leader's jersey off the shoulders of Jakub Monečko. But that's not the case. Of course, we have to wait till the end. And Vilja Triestina, they're not concerned about the gap at the moment. The rear of the peloton seems quite calm, quite relaxed. Well, the good thing about this tour, I must say, the road conditions are very good. Big, wide, open boulevards, wide roads. Unfortunately, we have seen some crashes, but that's really just come from the nervousness and that the nervousness of bike racing, and certainly towards the finishers. We had a few crashes again yesterday. And one of the St George Racing team riders, the team from Sydney, Australia, well, he crashed. Zenovic, he was in the break for most of the day. There's Jonathan Clark, another Australian. Time to get some food in. He rides for the United Healthcare American squad. He lives in America these days. He's got an American partner. So too his brother, who is a professional cyclist as well. They live on opposite sides of the country, so he said, we don't see each other often. Looks like there's been a crash there. I just missed the number. One of the Colts riders, he's Nick Satorn. So just maybe we've had a couple of touchdowns already that our cameras missed at the start of the stage. Well, the best place to be is at the front, out of trouble, and just out of that splash that comes. It's almost like a washing machine feel in the middle of that peloton with all the water running around, splashing around. Here's the breakaway. Alexis Cartier, I don't think he knows any other way to race than out in front, and that's what he's doing today. He got caught 4 kilometres to go a couple of days ago, but he's going to try again today. So we're with the break here, stage 5 of the Tour of Taihu Lake. 5 riders in the breakaway, all separate teams represented. 60 kilometres to go, 1 minute and 19 seconds. Peloton being led by the team of Vilja Triestina. And we've got the Jelly Belly team represented in the break, and that's Castillo. The rider from Team Colts also represented there. And that's Bratischuk. Here we are, the peloton, being led once again by Vilja Triestina. While Monečko's teammates, they'd be very content and happy to sit on the front for their main sprinter. He's delivered 3 stage victories in a row for them here. He missed out on stage 1. It was the man on the left of the screen there just sitting up. He's wearing the green jersey on loan today because Monečko also leads that category. But it was Nicolas Morini that took the opening stage. And since then, it's been the Jakub Monečko show. He's claimed 3, and he's taken his tally in this race to 13 stage victories. That would be a record, I think, of almost, well, of any small tour anywhere in the world. It would have to be some sort of record. He won the race in 2015, Jakub Monečko. I think that was the first time he competed in this race, and he's been back since. He loves it here, enjoys his time. He rode his own national tour this year, the Giro d'Italia, the world's 2nd biggest bike race. He finished 2nd on 2 stages there. He just came close, but not close enough. He withdrew with a few days remaining, but it was a good tour for him, and he certainly showed his face on the world stage. So the breakaway working well together. And back in the peloton. Looks just a little bit like a bit of a procession at the moment. Happy to let the Villa Trestina squad take charge. They know the drill. It's difficult for the non-sprinters teams on a day like today, or in fact the way this race has unfolded so far. It really is made for the sprinters, the opening stages. On the odd occasion you get a breakaway that may survive, but Villa Trestina, they're very well drilled, well oiled. They've been here before. We know that. So they know how to ride this race. They know how to control the brakes. And they just peg them. They peg them at 1 to 2 minutes with about 60 odd kilometres to go. Exactly what they're doing here at the moment. And as a rule of thumb in professional cycling, we say 1 minute per every 10 kilometres. That's the distance that a peloton can give a breakaway. Or that's what they need to bring back, I should say, per 10 kilometres, 1 minute, safely. If it's outside of that, it doesn't mean the break will survive, but it means their chances of surviving are higher. So at the moment, the break, in theory, doesn't have much hope of surviving, but that can change as the race unfolds. If they're smart, the break, they let the peloton fall into a false sense of security that they're going slow. They could even back the tempo off ever so slightly, which means the peloton may back it off. Because Villa Trestina, they don't want to catch this breakaway just yet. They have no reason to catch them now with 58 kilometres to go, because all it will do is open themselves up to more attacks from other teams. So it's better for them to leave this break out there, let them tire out, and it thwarts any other attacks. It takes the motivation out of the peloton, the rest of the peloton, to attack. So that's the tactic of Villa Trestina and all of the sprinters' teams. Nicolas Marini and his team of Nippo Veni Fantini, they're content with this as well. But the beauty for Marini and his teammates, they don't have to do any work, because Monechko is the man to beat. He's won 3 straight stages in a row as they come through the finish line there. So they're on to the finishing 4 circuits now. 4 circuits around this finish line. You can hear the whistles blowing on the corners there, just to alert the general public that the big peloton is coming. Well, it's just that drizzly rain that is making it a tricky stage for the peloton. I think a lot of riders would be content with the way the race is unfolding at the moment. Happy to sit in the warmth of the peloton. Gap 109, so it's coming down ever so slightly. Was up to about 1 minute and 38 seconds. I think that was the highest that's gone so far. Peloton come through. Still plenty of spectators out. Waiting. They've been waiting all morning to see the race come through. And now, finally, the peloton rides through the finish line. So 56.7 kilometres to go. See the spare bikes there. That's the H&R Block squad there chatting to Alexis Cartier. And that's the 5 riders in the breakaway. Machado, Van Engelen, Cartier, Castillo and Bratuschuk. So we've got a Brazilian from Sol Brazil cycling team. Number 96 there, Van Engelen. He's at the rear. He rides for Team Bike Aid. Cartier, I mentioned, the Canadian. Bratuschuk for Team Coles. That's him there in the blue and green colours. And then, of course, Castillo, the Mexican, who's back after a serious injury earlier this year, breaking his leg and ankle. It's amazing that, let alone he's back riding, but racing at such a high level and at the front in the breakaways. So the break they're not giving up, and they're going to make this peloton chase them down. And this team in particular, they know the drill. They know what they need to do to bring them back. 55 kilometres to go. The gap is at 1 minute and 12 seconds. Morechko, he'll be looking to add to his tally. He has 3 stage wins. Can he make it number 4 today? We'll find out. So here's Van Engelen. Takes his turn on the front. Machado. Gabriel Machado, the Brazilian. His teammate had a good ride yesterday. He was in the breakaway. Got the most combative award. Del Prado Nazaret. So they're a whole Brazilian squad. Brought a full team here to compete in this race. And they've been active. But I'm impressed with this man here. Alexis Cartier, the Canadian. He's been very active in the breaks. I think this is his 3rd or 4th occasion in the break. He was 2nd in a stage of Tour of Alberta. And he did the Volta Portugal this year. One of the tough tours on the European circuit. So he knows what it's like to race in conditions like this. No doubt about that. He's 26 years of age. So he really should be hitting his prime of his career. Number 146 there. Audrey Bratishchuk. His team have been very active. Andre Killick. He was 3rd on yesterday's stage of Taihu, his teammate. And Vitaly Butts, another teammate of his, a 30-year-old Ukrainian. So they've got some experience because Butts, he rode in the World Tour from 2009 to 2012. And he's the current national road race champion. So plenty of experience on the Colts cycling team. This Team Bikeaid, they'll be happy. They've got a man in the breakaway. A couple of riders sitting towards the rear of the peloton. So it's the latter part of this season for a lot of teams and a lot of riders. A few tired bodies out there, but the thing with professional cycling, every race is hard to win. There's always someone who comes prepared and comes motivated. And this race is no different. There's a bunch of riders looking for contracts for the 2018 season and have yet to show their face. Castillo, he's been out for a lot of the season. He'd dearly love to win a stage here. They're moving well the breakaway. Trying to push that lead back up. They're not going to make it easy for the peloton to bring them back. So Cartier takes his turn on the front. Van Engelen comes through. Machado, the Brazilian, in the yellow and blue colours. Brazilian colours, the jersey there. Castillo, the Mexican, he's following on the wheel, and Bratishchuk, the Ukrainian. And back to the peloton now, still being led by the Villa Triestina squad. Tough day for them, the workhorses, the riders who don't get the glory. They work for the men like that one there, Nicolas Marini and Jakub Morechko. They do all of that pace setting out on the course, try and lead their team leaders to victory. They do the majority of the work, in fact. but they don't have that specific, well, their specific skill is being a workhorse, but that specific talent that is required to win bike races, whether it be a sprinter, a time trialist or a climber, generally those riders don't have that capability. So they're deemed domestiques, and they hope that they can find a role on a team. If they do it well and do it properly, they'll be rewarded. But it's the sprinters, the climbers, and the time trialists that take the glory. They're the ones that stand on the top step, but it's a team effort, and without them, these sprinters, they do not win races. Morechko yesterday, perfect example. He got a flat tyre, rear wheel, a flat tyre, 5 kilometres to go. And the way the race came in, he was very, very lucky, but he was riding strong from all accounts. He regrouped, rejoined, he stayed calm when the wheel was changed. Got back to the rear of the peloton. He had 2 teammates waiting for him. They dragged him to the front inside the last couple of kilometres, and then he delivered once more for them. But without his teammates, he probably would not have won the stage. So he knows how important it is to have a good team around him, and this is the perfect example of it. Because if they suddenly sat up, the Villa Tristina squad, and stopped working, the breakaway would blow out to 4 or 5 minutes. And you can see there they are setting a decent tempo, because you can see at the rear of the peloton and the long line that leads to the front. So it just gives you an idea of how fast they're going. They're probably doing 45, 50 kilometres an hour at the moment. And in these wet conditions, it makes it, well, a little bit tricky when you're going through the corners. And remember, we're on 4 finishing circuits now around this finish. It's number 73 there leading them. He's done a mountain of work. Jacopo Mosca, the Italian. There's Morechko. He's a short, stocky rider, Morechko. So too Nicolas Marini. Really stocky. Guillaume Boivin, the Canadian, just caught a glimpse of him riding for the Israel Academy squad. He took the opening prologue, and for me, he is the big danger for overall honours in this race. We haven't seen too much of him since that opening prologue, but don't you worry about that. He's in a good position in the overall standings. Here and there, he's picking up a couple of bonus seconds, and he may well be the big threat on that final stage that really does have a classic feel to it. Machado, the Brazilian, he leads the breakaway. Castillo, 131 for Team Jelly Belly. America's longest standing professional cycling team, Team Jelly Belly. They've been around for a long, long time. And there's Bjelvan with the white glasses. Strong rider. He did the World Championships in Bergen, Norway, just last month. Finished in 35th place. Well, normally you'd say it's nothing to write home about, but it was a select group, and at the end of 260 odd kilometres, just shows that Boivin has some pretty good legs. He's got good form, and he's carried it over to here. His prologue was exceptional. Sergei Techkov, he was the man who they thought may have taken it out, a teammate of Castillo for Jelly Belly. He got within 0.2 of a second of victory, Techkov, but it just wasn't quite enough. So it's status quo at the front. Inside 50 kilometres to go now. And the break, well, it'd be a little bit of frustration, I would imagine, because they know the peloton are just keeping them at bay at the moment. They're not going to give them too much rope, let them blow out too much at all. You can see the peloton, in fact, on this long straight stretch of road in the background there. And the peloton would be able to see them because they'd see the cars, so they know that's where the lead group is. Generally, when a gap goes over the 1 minute mark, that's when the chief commissaire will let the team vehicles go up and take their place behind that breakaway. So that's what you see there, those four vehicles, in fact, on think one of them is neutral spares. So before they let the respective team vehicles go up of these breakaway riders, they generally put one car, which is called neutral support. So the conditions are still pretty bad. You can see there the visibility for the riders. Very, very tricky indeed. You can see some riders have got glasses on. Some have clear lenses, some have got sunglasses, and then others have taken them off. It's probably because they've either fogged up too much, the mist and the rain and the moisture that comes in underneath the lens. A couple of riders, our cameras won't follow them too much, but they're taking a nature break by the looks of things. But it really is trying and testing conditions for the riders. Probably the one thing about a day like today, it's not freezing conditions. It's cold, certainly not warm, but it's not freezing. It's not sub-zero temperatures. So you can see some of the riders are in fact just wearing lycra. And I think a few riders I've saw there, no vests on, no jackets. So it's not extreme cold. They're used to the cold weather. Well, certainly the Europeans are. Early season racing, February, March, up in the northern European races, Belgium, Holland, where they have the Northern Classics. Well, they can certainly be racing in snow on some occasions. While even down in Italy, the Giro d'Italia in May, some of the high mountains, they get snow, and they've had to cancel a few mountain stages. One of the Eritrean riders, just two left in the race, taking some food there. No problems for them. They're handling these conditions. And gee, I've talked about them a bit this week for good reason. I love the fact that our sport is becoming so global now that countries like Eritrea have made their mark on the world stage. And for the very first time 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago if you like, they lined up at the Tour de France. Change of jacket, or jacket being taken back to the team car there. That's Adriato, Rafael Adriato. His jacket's probably got absolutely drenched. So he said it's better to take it off. Will he collect another one? We'll see. Looks like he's waiting there for something. But yeah, back to the Eritrean riders. Daniel Tekla-Hamanot, who isn't here, he rides for the World Tour squad, Dimension Data, the African team, Africa's first World Tour squad. He wrote the history books, I should say, by becoming the first Eritrean rider to compete at the Tour de France. And not only did he compete, but gee, he set the cycling world on fire. He led the King of the Mountains classification jersey for a number of days, becoming the first Eritrean to do that. And I believe the first African rider to do that. And gee, it was an emotional tour for that team. They really did do some amazing things. And of course, then they won a stage in Stephen Cummings, the Englishman who rides for that team as well. So the Eritrean cycling, they are inspired by the likes of Daniel Tekla-Hamanot. But these riders here, they're motivated. They're inspired to try and win a stage. Bratishchuk for Team Kols, the Ukrainian. He's eager to push this race along, and the whole team, in fact, have been motivated this week. So too the H&R block, but in particular, Alexis Cartier, the man here, leading the Canadian. So it's under a minute now, the gap, 45.7 kilometres to go. Villa Triestina, they're leading. This suits them because the bonus seconds, they'll be taken out in that breakaway. So everything being panned out nicely for the sprinters. So the breakaway now, Cartier, he looks like he's getting a little bit frustrated with this group. And you can see opening up a couple of splits. So some tired legs there. Van Engelen at the back here for Team Bikeaid. He's out of the seat. He looks like he's struggling. He He needs to try and hang on here. Cartier, he wants to force this break. So too Batischuk, the Ukraine, he's happy to oblige. The Brazilian looks like he's in trouble as well, and Castillo, the Mexican, he jumps over him. So it's strange tactics, because with 44 kilometres to go, I would think the best tactic is to try and work with the riders that you've got. The power of 5 is better than the power of 1. But Cartier, he's obviously frustrated, and just maybe we're not picking up that a couple of the riders in this break are not pulling their fair share of work. And Cartier, he's been the first to show that frustration. But now he finds himself a little bit on the back foot. Wow, this is almost like it's coming down to 5 kilometres to go, but it's not. In fact, it looks like they're coming towards the sprint, the third and final sprint of the day. And they know that it is these sprint points and seconds could be crucial by the end of the tour. They won't be crucial today, they won't show for much today, but the 3 seconds could be extremely valuable when they come towards the end of this race. So let's just see what happens as they make the right-hand turn into the finishing straight. It's about 600 metres towards the line. There's the finish line there. Let's just see what they do. So they're looking over their shoulder there, Van Engelen. In fact, it's a Brazilian rider there leading them. So there's certainly going to be a sprint, and Cartier, he gets the jump on the right. So Cartier, it looks like a long way to go to the line. Castillo, he was on the wheel. Castillo's going to challenge. It's going to be tight, and I think the Mexican has taken it out. So the Mexican takes the third and final sprint of the day. Cartier will settle for 2, and Batischuk will take the 1 second. 43 kilometres to go. Peloton have them in their sights. So the Peloton, they've got the break well and truly under control. 43 kilometres to go, under 1 minute the margin. We just saw the third and final sprint of the day, carrying those valuable 3-2-1 bonus seconds and 3-2-1 points for the points classification. Well, most of those points have been accumulated by the 2 sprinters, Nicolas Marini and Jakub Mareczko. So they won't be worried about that breakaway taking those minor sprint points. But the bonification seconds is what matters the most. As they roll through the finish line there for the second time. 4 finishing circuits they're doing. So they've got 42 kilometres to go. About 14 kilometres a lap. So 4 finishing laps of 14 kilometres. Let's take a look now just at the replay of this sprint. Cartier actually opened this sprint up a kilometre or so back. He tried to attack this group and then split. And Cartier was the first to jump. He looked like he was going to take it, but Castillo, I believe the Mexican, got it on the line. He did. Castillo took it out for Jelly Belly. Cartier second. And Batischuk, the Ukrainian, for Team Kols, taking the minor seconds there, just 1 second. So Cartier is certainly thinking of his overall chances, you would think. And so too the rest of the riders in that break, because they really did fight hard for it. So back to the Peloton now, maintaining that tempo and just pegging that break at under a minute. There's the Israel Academy rider there on the left of the screen, just taking the jacket off. That's the team of Guillaume Bovan and Jason Lowndes, the Australian. 2 riders who had great opening prologues. Bovan has since lost that lead, I don't think he'll be too concerned though, because he still holds a good position in the overall standings. There's Machado, the Brazilian. Cartier, Bradishchuk and Castillo. So they've left Van Engelen, the Dutchman, behind, riding for the German team Bikeaid. So he's been left behind now. He was with this breakaway when it formed. Just now, will it give them another lease of life post that sprint? They need to forget at the moment the jerseys that they're wearing on the road. They need to form a team out on the road if they want any chance of staying clear. Can we pick up any of this audio? Let's see. Thumbs up. Well, he's giving some real clear instructions. Just telling him to work, keep working. He'll be talking about the peloton. He'll know what's going on. It's a really tough cause because the peloton are holding them at bay. They're not letting them go any further out, but they're not bringing them back. And if I was in that breakaway, I'd be trying to let this group of riders here, and in particularly this team of Villa Triestina, go into a false sense of security. I'd almost back the tempo off in the breakaway. You might think that sounds crazy, but with 40 kilometres to go, call their bluff. Drop it back 3 or 4 kilometres per hour. And what will happen is, generally, you'll see this group and the peloton, they'll ease up their tempo because they don't want to catch them, because if they do, they'll open themselves up to more attacks from the rest of the peloton. With that break out there, what it does, it takes the morale out of the peloton to launch any attacks. But if it comes back together, then you'll see more attacks, especially with 40 kilometres to go. So the peloton slows down. They think, okay, we've got them under control. They're going slow. And then suddenly you ramp the tempo up. And by the time word filters back to the peloton that the gap has opened back up, it's already opened up by another minute or so. Suddenly the gap's at 2 minutes. And by then you've got 10 kilometres that have passed. And it gives this break suddenly a real chance of staying clear. So number 51 here for Team Novo Nordisk. That's Romain Giraud, the Frenchman. So he's had a mechanical, trying to rejoin. And you can see there, it looks like a front rear wheel. So it was for Giraud. So he's had to pull over, get a front wheel change. And where's his team car? There it is, screaming up behind. And the trick is, when you get a flat, if you can manage it, you try and ride at the rear of the peloton until your team car comes right up behind you. Because on some occasions, and for the team of Novo Nordisk, they potentially were team 14 or 15. So they are 14 or 15 cars back in that peloton. And so when you get the flat, there's no point sitting, there's no point pulling over and stopping immediately. You're better off sitting at the back of the peloton, waiting for your team car to come right up behind you. So then you minimise the time that you stop and you minimise the time that you lose off the back of that wheel. You can see now he's had a teammate drop back to help him, and he'll try and take him through the car. They're allowed to, in a way, utilise the assistance of the vehicles. They're not allowed to sit directly behind a car for too long. They are, however, allowed to move up car by car. So they can slowly use that sort of slip seam, the drag of the vehicle, but they have to keep moving generally behind. So Van Engelen now, for Team Bikeaid, the Dutchman, it looks like he is rejoining this break. So he somehow managed to rejoin the break. So he actually got dropped in that sprint and attacks towards the line here. So he's obviously struggling a little bit. Adney Van Engelen. But he gets back on. Castillo there, and the Brazilian, Machado. Bradishchuk now takes his lead at the front. So the gap, 103. Cartier. He'll be trying to force this group along. Cartieri's fresh off the Vuelta of Portugal, 26-year-old Canadian. He's had a pretty good year. He was second in the stage of Tour of Alberta, one of his home tours. So he's had a pretty good season. And Giroud now rejoins the peloton. No real stress from the Frenchman for Team Novo Nordisk. Incidentally, a team, all of the riders on that team suffer diabetes. And that is the cause that they promote on their jersey and their team throughout the world and throughout the regions that they race. So it's quite an amazing feat for a team riding on the world stage at the highest level. All of them have, I think it's type 1 diabetes. So hats off to them. And they've certainly made their presence felt in this year's race. 36 kilometres to go. So 14 odd kilometre laps, 4 finishing circuits. You can just see at the rear here the peloton. One of them St George riders there, just 3 from the back. I think that could be Caden Groves maybe, the Australian riding for the Sydney-based squad. They do a lot of racing on the Asian calendar. Had their first UCI victory at a tour in Indonesia earlier this year. There's Marini. He's got the green jersey, but only on loan because it's Marechko that leads that category. He's got a few points advantage after yesterday's stage win, and that was enough for him to take the leader's orange jersey off the shoulders of Marini. So 2 Italians are at the top of the table. Marechko, he was born in Poland, in fact, moved with his mother to Italy when he was just 5 years of age. He speaks pretty good English, of course Italian, and presuming he'd still speak some Polish. Most European cyclists now, and certainly this generation, they at least speak 2 languages. Very rare that you get a European rider that only speaks 1 language. And with the explosion of English-speaking riders on the European circuit in the last 10-15 years, and just it changed the dynamic of teams, and there's almost an English speaker on every squad. And when you get the northern teams, European teams, the Belgian squads, the Dutch squads, you get riders there that, well, they speak 4 to 5 languages. And then their press officers, as we look at the Novo Nordisk squad, the team that we're just the team of that ride with diabetes. But you get some of those teams with press officers that actually speak 6 or 7 languages. The team of Orica Scott, they're not here in this race. They're an Australian-based World Tour squad. Their previous press officer spoke 9 languages, would you believe? So they pretty much cover off anyone in their team because they have a diverse range of riders on their team. And on some occasions, they have 6 or 7 different nationalities on their team. And most of those teams, well, I know that for a fact, the Australian team, all of their team meetings are done in English. But on a race like the Tour de France, or even races like this, the Tour of Taihu Lake, you may get some international media who will want to interview the riders in their own language or in another language. And you'll need a press officer of that team that can do the translation. So it's important that they at least speak 3 or 4 languages. So it really does bring a big diverse range of languages, culture, professional cycling. And it's a sport really that does touch all 4 corners of the globe, from South America to Africa, to North America, to Australia, and then of course the hub of Europe, which is where we see the big races of the year. But Asian cycling really has taken off in the last 10 years. So many tours now on the Asian calendar, and so many in China, including this great race, the Tour of Taihu Lake. It's the 8th edition, and it really is hitting its straps now, bringing out some big teams like the Villa Triestina squad, They compete on the big tours around the world, but they enjoy coming to this race, and for good reason. They've won the race previously, and they've claimed 13 stages at least. We know that with Jakub Marečko. He took his 13th victory in this race yesterday. He's third for this year. And I just wonder if he'll be thinking about overall honours. The final stage, that's the stage that we're expecting to split the race apart. But will it be enough to drop the likes of Marečko and Marini, the two main sprinters here? Or will it be an opportunity for the likes of Guillaume Boivin, the Canadian from Montreal, who won the opening prologue and in his own right can climb? And he would be thinking of that final stage, certainly. And not just Boivin, there's other riders that will be looking to go on the attack. Dare say they'd be almost sick of the sprinters taking all of the stages here. So the gap really just sticking around that 1 minute mark, 1:06, 32.9 kilometres to go. 5 riders out in front, but it's this team here that are controlling the race. So they'll start to up the tempo now. This is Villa Triestina with 32.7 kilometres to go. We're on the finishing circuits around Hainan. The stage started in Nantong, a city of some 7.5 million people. And Hainan is a county city of Nantong. Sits on the Yangtze River. And it's its geographical location makes it a huge and booming international shipping port. It's the birthplace of China's modern industry. And the first cotton mills, in fact, were founded here in 1899. And when I speak about languages spoken in the professional cycling world, the region that we're in here, there's 6 counties, and they are certainly there's almost a different language or dialect, I should say, that is spoken in each county. So it really is a diverse linguistic area around this part of China. Castillo there leading them through. Cartier there, the Canadian. The Brazilian Machado. They've been active the last 2 days, and this team here of Team Kols, the Ukrainian squad, Batistyuk, they've been very active throughout the race. So it's under a minute lead. They won't be too keen to bring back the break just yet. They just want to hold them at this, and that's exactly what they're doing. They're so well drilled, the Villa Triestina squad. They really have nailed it the last 3 stages. And a little bit of a curly one was thrown out yesterday when Marečko got a flat tyre with 5 kilometres to go. Many other riders, you'd think that was it, their day would be done. But Marečko, as calmly as he did, changed his wheel, rejoined the peloton. His teammates towed him to the front, and he took his 3rd consecutive stage win. And today, he'll look to make it number 4. And his teammates, they're going to back him all the way to the line. So back with the peloton, 30.7 kilometres to go now. We're on the finishing circuits around Hainan. And at the rear of the peloton, miserable conditions today. Well, they've had really extremely hot weather for the opening prologue. Well over the 30-degree mark Celsius. There's one of the Eritrean riders at the rear there. A couple of Eritrean riders at the rear. And then the next day, the clouds closed in and it rained for the next couple of stages. It's probably a 15 to 20 degrees drop in temperature from one day to the next. And then it dried up for the last 2 days, and now today the heavens opened once more. Rained a lot overnight. And it's just kept on drizzling today. So it's been trying conditions, not just for the riders, but certainly our camera crews that are providing these great pictures. They're doing a marvellous job. So they're out in the elements with the riders. But they're doing a fantastic job of providing us pictures of the breakaway here. And of course that peloton. So we saw that third and final intermediate sprint earlier. And it was Castillo, the Mexican here, riding for Team Jelly Belly, America's longest running squad. They've been around, well, getting up towards almost 20 years now, Jelly Belly. And well, you know what their product is. It's jelly beans. And I must say, I've sampled their product over the years at, well, certainly bike races on the American circuit, and they're not bad. So Batistuc now looks like he's had enough of this break, and he's gone on the attack. So Batistuc now, he's just trying to go it alone by the looks of it, not keen to work turns with the brake. And I think the tactic behind that would be just maybe if he can break clear of his breakaway companions, even though it's 30 kilometres to go, if they sit up, go back to the peloton will ease off because they think, well, one rider will be easy to bring back. But it is an interesting tactic, or maybe he's just frustrated that they're not setting a high enough tempo. And I don't blame him, because they need to work hard if they're going to do anything to stop this peloton from catching them. So Batistuc, Adri Batistuc for the Coles cycling team. He has tried to go it alone. 25 years of age, as the peloton rolls past the TV compound and the finish line. 43 seconds. So they're just starting to close in on this break now. What can the team of Nippo Vini Fantini do today? How can they stop Jakub Mareczko? Well, for me, I think the only way to stop him is overpower them in those final few kilometres. They need to save all of their teammates and almost box Mareczko in if they can. They've got to play a little bit dirty within the rules of professional racing, but they need to try something. They can't just let Mareczko be delivered to the line or to that last 200 metres, because he's proven the last 3 days that he really is the quickest here. Marini has got the better of him on the opening road stage. So Cartier now, he bridges across to Batistuc. Wow, Batistuc surely can't be expecting Cartier to roll through straight away. He does. A bit of a fist pump. I think it's more of a joking fist pump, not frustration. I think they're both just motivated to try and do something. They seem to be the two stronger riders in that break. Castillo, the Mexican, he wants to be part of it as well. But the Brazilian Machado and Van Engelen, the Dutchman, they're hanging in there. So Marini now in the green jersey. You can see just having a chat there. Is he chatting to Mareczko? Can't really see. Our cameras haven't quite panned around. So a little bit of discussion going. Under 27 kilometres to go. All things are in charge at the head of the peloton here. So the breakaway has split ever so slightly. The Ukrainian, Andriy Bratashchuk, riding for Cole's cycling team, and Alexis Cartier, the Canadian, for H&R Block. They're just off the front, just trying to force the pace, but all it's doing, it's forcing their other three breakaway companions now to up the tempo themselves. They don't want to miss out on the party. And they're trying to close in on, and it's Castillo, the Mexican, for Jelly Belly. He's doing the lion's share of the work there, trying to bridge back up. But this, overall, it's not helping their cause. They need to try and work as one unit. They need to forget about the jerseys that they wear at the moment and pretend that they are teammates on the road for the time being. Because racing like this, it will not help them stay away. In fact, it'll do the opposite. It'll make it so much easier for this bunch here that's being led by Nipovini Fantini and Villa Triestina, who will make their job a lot easier in bringing them back. Here's Nicolas Marini, the Italian. He's without a contract for the 2018 season. He wears the green jersey on loan today. He doesn't lead that category, but because Jakub Morechko wears the orange leader's jersey, that takes precedence. So the green jersey will fall onto the shoulders of Marini today. So the group is back together, but wow, it's almost a mini disaster for the breakaway. They need to try and regroup and take control. One rider in this break needs to try and organise them. You can see now they've almost lost hope of staying away. And they've still got an advantage of 46 kilometres. So they need to try and work together. Oh, this is silly. It's not the tactic they should be employing at this point in the race. They need to still try and work together. Van Engelen now, he tries to just get things rolling, but no one is keen. Bit of a grimace there from the Villa Triestina squad rider. He's got the clear lens on, so he's hoping that that's enough to sort of make his vision a little bit better than what it would normally be. So the peloton being led by Villa Triestina around these finishing circuits of Hayman. There's the Canadian Alexis Cartier. Gee, it's a race of frustration for him. He's been in the break, I think, on 3 occasions, and 3 occasions he's been caught. And now today, there just seems to be no organisation within the break, not willing to work together. They've been attacking each other, and Castillo now just jumped off a few lengths off the front here. Cartier now bridges across, but it's almost a lost cause for the break in today's stage, unless they really get organised. If they did right now and just started working together as if they were teammates, they would actually open up this gap and they'd drag it back out up over the minute mark, and suddenly then you'd put a little bit pressure on the peloton. But instead, they're working against each other, and I think a couple of the riders in that group, possibly Van Engelen and Machado, are just not willing to drive it as hard, and so then it causes the other three of Bratashchuk, Castillo and Cartier to get frustrated and go on the attack. But all it does, it stops the momentum. And the momentum of the peloton here, you can just see, it's just a constant tempo. That's what they're doing. They just keep their speed constant. And they hold this break. So Castillo now trying to drive it along. Machado, is he going to go over Castillo? He does. Van Engelen riding for Team Bike Aid, a German squad here. He's a Dutchman. Ukrainian for Team Kols. Back with Marini. Well, he's certainly got some legs on him, Nicolas Marini. He's about 5'5", really short, stocky. He's got that build of a pure sprinter. Certainly not a man for the mountains. And there's Morechko. Number 74. The leader's jersey's hidden by a vest. And he's just keeping as much of the rain off him as possible. Number 104 at the rear there. That was the rider of the Giant Cycling team, Lu Huang. Peloton as the moto makes its way up the back of the peloton there. The team of the big colours are there of Monton Racing. There's the blue colours of the United Healthcare squad. Team of Taki Gusto, they didn't make the breakaway today. They've got the rider of Ben Hill, the Australian. There's a couple of their riders there in the orange and white colours. And then the team of the Israel Cycling Academy squad. Gee, they'd be excited. Because in 2018, and for the very first time in world cycling, one of the 3 Grand Tours will create history by starting its race outside of Europe. And that is the Giro d'Italia. The opening 3 stages will be held in Israel. So it'll be a monumental occasion. And for the Israel Academy squad, I just wonder if they'd be, well, I know they'd be hoping for a wild card start, and I just wonder if they'll get it. I'm sure they'll be using all of their connections and certainly trying to sign some strong riders in the hope that they will be on the start line in Israel for those first 3 stages of the world's 2nd biggest bike race. But that's probably the least of things on their mind at the moment, at least for the riders. They'll be thinking of trying to challenge today. Challenge the likes of Morechko and Marini and Guillaume Bovan. He's not a pure sprinter, but he's a strong sprinter. He's been up there on a few of the sprints. He's in the top 10. There he is, just disappearing from camera, and his teammates surrounding him. There's Ben Hill for Taki Team Gusto, just going out of shot as well. Monton Racing squad. And so too the Mansana Postobon squad. 2 teams that have similar colours. They're hard to spot on days like today, but they're in the pink and black colours. The Mansana Postobon squad, a Colombian outfit, who are here. And they also rode the recent Vuelta a España, the 3rd Grand Tour of the year. Well, there's the gap. So the peloton well and truly have this break in their sights. It's less than 30 seconds now. So they're coming up for their final lap very soon. So the head of the race there, 5 riders. Cartier still motivated to push it along. They make the right-hand turn. And the Brazilian looks like he's had enough. He's probably taken a look over his shoulder and has seen the peloton bearing down on them. So it's less than 20 kilometres to go. The gap is 23 seconds. We look set for a sprint finish. So the sprinters teams are in charge once more. Machado, the Brazilian here, his day is done. Gabriel Machado, he will now take his position back in the peloton. But for the remaining riders, Van Engelen, Cartier, Castillo and Bradishchuk, they're not giving up. They're pushing on.
What?
And they'll come around shortly to complete the third of 4 laps. So they'll get just one remaining lap to go. And they'll be happy about that because it's been a wet and miserable day for the riders. It rained all through the night. And the forecast in the morning wasn't much better throughout the day. And so it's lived up to what the forecast said. Looks like the rain has subsided though. And so Machado, there he is, being caught by the peloton. Moscow, they're doing a mountain of work for his team. Jacopo Morska. And Giuseppe Fonzi is another rider that does a load of work for the Villa Trestina squad. Incidentally, they've got another rider on their squad, the 27-year-old Uga Zupa, an Albanian. He became the first Albanian to ride the Giro d'Italia, the Tour of Italy, the world's second biggest bike race. He's since completed it 3 times. So he's an Albanian that rides on the World Tour. And he's a 4-time national road race champion. So he really is an accomplished rider. He forms an integral part of this team that sits on the front here for Jakub Marečko. Back with the 4 leaders. The question is, who'll be the most combative, the most aggressive rider today? There's an award for that each day. Gee, you'd have to think Cartier maybe, or Bradishchuk. Maybe Castillo, the Mexican. He's had his fair share of goes as well. He takes his turn on the front. There's Bradishchuk, the Ukrainian. So the peloton now bearing down on the breakaway. We're inside 20 kilometres to go and the gap is inside 20 seconds. They've got 1 and a bit remaining laps to go around the cities of Nantong and its county city of Hainan. Well, a population of over 7.5 million people, and it's around its surrounds. They'll have enjoyed today's stage, even though it's been damp conditions. There's a good crowd on the finish line, and they've been waiting patiently for the riders to race into town. And now the anticipation builds of who will take out stage 5. Jakub Marečko, he's won the last 3 stages, so 3 consecutive stage victories for him. He rides for the Villa Trestina squad, and he's taken his tally to 13 in total in this great race, the 8th edition of the Tour of Taihu Lake. Some marvellous cities and regions that we visit on this race, and they really do know how to showcase them. So much history and rich culture, and diverse as well. Cities that are booming and prospering in this part of China. And they're really proud of not only their region, but they're proud of this race. And the organisers, well, they're very happy with the way things have unfolded so far. And they've put a little twist as well, because the final stage in this year's race, I think, is one with anticipation, because we believe it's a day that will really blow this race apart. So in some ways, it's the calm before the storm these days. They're for the sprinters and the breakaway opportunists like these guys here. Cartier, gee, full marks for trying. Alexis Cartier, the Canadian. He is motivated. So they're coming up towards the final lap of today's stage. Just 15.3 kilometres to go. We will stay with the race now. No more breaks until the completion of the stage. And the gap, it's down to just, well, 12, 13 seconds. You can forget about the gap. We've got a good visual now, and so too of the peloton of the breakaway. They make the right turn into the finishing straight. It's just some 600 metres to go as they make that right turn. And this time they'll receive the whistle or the bell to signify the final lap. But these three, surely they must know that the game is just about up. So they come past the finish line and the outside broadcast area. And the peloton swiftly follow. So our attention now will shift from what's happening out in the breakaway to what's happening in the peloton. And what is happening in the peloton is one of the Brazilian riders there, looks like he's had a mechanical. So that's a bad time to have a mechanical with just 14.2 kilometres to go. Morechko now takes the jacket off and shows off his leader's orange jersey. It's down to the business end of the bike race. And maybe he's just doing that as a sign, showing his main rivals, hey, I'm the man in charge here. I'm in the lead, I've got the jersey. You all have to beat me. Nicolas Marini wears the green jersey, and that signifies the leader of the points classification. He doesn't lead it, but the jersey falls onto his shoulders because the orange leader's jersey, as the overall leader of Morechko, he so too leads that sprinter's jersey as well. He also leads the youth classification jersey, but he can only wear one jersey today, and then the red jersey is being worn by Chung King-lok for the Hong Kong national squad as the best Chinese rider, I should say. So Chung King-lok, he did a great opening prologue, and he's ridden well ever since. He's ridden conservatively, but he's ridden smart. So Cartier, he's last man standing at this stage for this breakaway. Castilla there trying to get on to equal terms. One of the riders of Villa Tristina just sitting up, stretching the back out, getting himself ready for the lead out for Jakub Morechko. Can anyone get the better of the Italian today? And that's the Brazilian sitting on the back there, number 41. He's waiting for his teammate. So that's Eduardo Guar. And he's waiting for his teammate who has had that mechanical, probably a flat tyre. So he'll sit at the back. He won't drift back because his teammate will utilise the cars, the convoy of vehicles. He'll try and utilise these cars. He'll get to the rear of the commissaire's car, then he'll have to try and bridge to the rear of the peloton. So there's no point in his teammates all dropping back. They'll just sit at the rear And then when he does get to the rear of the peloton, they'll try and drag him to the front. So Cartier, what an opportunist rider he is. He will not give in. 21 seconds advantage. He's in fact pushed that lead up ever so slightly. Gee, never say die mentality. And I just don't think it's going to come to much. He only sits 22 seconds off the lead. I just wonder if at times, if he rode a bit more conservatively, he could be in with a shot on that final stage. Or maybe he can't climb at all. But he's come off some good form, and he's come off some strong tour racing this year, namely the Volta of Portugal. For Castillo, well, he's the opposite, because he's come off a season with a nasty injury early on in the year. He broke his leg and ankle. And so, for him, it's a big effort just to be back on the bike, let alone racing, and let alone be off the front in a UCI race. Bit of nodding of the head there of the rider on the front there. He's nodding because he's got an earpiece in, and he'd be listening to directions from either his teammate or his team car, his director sport, his coach, if you like. So they'd be giving instructions, and he's nodding his head in agreement, or yes, I'm acknowledging it. Jonathan Clark there in the blue colours, just disappearing out of sight. Rolling back, the Australian, riding for the American outfit of United Healthcare. Another long-standing American squad. They race a lot around the world, certainly on the European calendar as well. They've had some great results. So Marechko, he's tucked in behind his teammates. He's got rid of the team jacket, and he's showing off the leader's jersey, the orange colours. He's just hidden nicely. He's only a short, stocky rider. That's the build of a sprinter. And it's Marini that is behind him. Can any other sprinters challenge them today? We saw yesterday and in days previously, there's been a few riders that have got up there. It was Adri Killick for the Coles team that managed third place yesterday. He was third on the stage, and he's finished second in a couple of stages. There's the orange colours. So Castillo has caught Cartier and attacked him. They're desperate to be the last one out in the break, because there's an award for the most combative rider, the most aggressive rider, if you like. And that's what they're trying to win. And they are going to attack each other into the ground until that peloton catch them. They know they're going to be caught, but gee, what a battle. Both of them want the honour of sitting on the podium. Gee, I think it's almost a dead heat. Surely they can award both of these riders the most combative. They're on their hands and knees. What an effort. Gee, we'll have to give them a pat on the back at day's end if any of our crew see them, because they certainly have put on a display for our live coverage. And in doing so, they've stayed out there just for that bit longer, because they're inside 10 kilometres to go and they are still away. They've still got a 10 to 15 second advantage. But all the while, they know they're going to be caught from the peloton. So Cartier now going on the attack once more. And Castillo will not give in. He will not give in. The strength of Cartier is exceptional. Castillo, well, he was in the break yesterday for most of the stage. He spent a big chunk of today off the front. These two riders almost wouldn't know what it's like to ride in a peloton at this race, because the majority of the time they've been out in front. Well, I think it's going to be a stalemate, surely. Neither of them are going to be able to drop each other. Cartier looking under his shoulder. You can see Castillo there is rejoined. .6 kilometres to go. One whole peloton now. It is evident. And a bit of a shake of hands there from the two riders and a smile. Their day is done. And now we see a new attack. And it looks like it could be from the Monton Racing team. So Castillo and Cartier, they get swallowed up from the peloton. And it looks like Monton Racing now have gone on the attacks, a fresh attack. So this is what I was talking about earlier. This is exactly why the team of Villa Triestina and the sprinters teams, they just try and ride tempo, and they left that breakaway out there for so long, because if they didn't, this is the problem that they then get. They get fresh legs and they get fresh attacks, and they can be hard to control. So now what they do, they try and up the tempo ever so slightly and hold a high tempo all the way to the line to thwart any of these last minute attacks, because at times they can be tricky. So they don't even try and jump to that rider. What they do, they just hold their momentum, hold their tempo, because if they did try and jump to every attack, it would actually hurt them as well. It would put them in the red zone. So they just maintain their tempo. They almost forget that that rider has attacked. And I'll tell you what, he's having a good go at it. But it's the old saying, the power of the peloton. When you've got 4 or 5 riders to one, you're never going to stay clear. You have to be riding at in excess of 50 kilometres an hour for the remaining 8 kilometres, and he's not going to do that. Yes, so it is a rider from the Monton Racing team. But he's not getting too far indeed. Peloton just holding him at bay. Well, it could be the rider Ortega there that's out in front. So it really is the calm before the storm. The peloton know the drill. They've got used to it the last 3 days. And look at these big wide open roads. So hard to break clear on a day like today, and certainly on the run-in. The tricky part is that 1 kilometre to go, they go under that banner, under the 1 kilometre kite. As we look at the rear of the peloton now, still very calm. And it's calm because of the wide roads. They know they've got ample time to move up. They'll make a right-hand turn with about 600 metres to go, and that is the crucial corner. It's probably really the only crucial corner with 600 metres to go. They'll make a turn up here, they'll make another right turn now, and then they'll make a right turn with 600 metres to go. So no real panic. And the Monton rider there, well, he'll be just about swallowed up by the peloton. Gee, he needed 2 or 3 riders to go with him, and then they could have made something of it. But instead, that attack has really gone wasted. Now you can see that peloton bunching up. They're swelling at the front and they're panning across the road. So they're all starting to jostle for position. You can see Marechko in the orange colours, and Marini is firmly planted on his wheel. He's tried that tactic a couple of times already and it hasn't worked. I'd like to think Marini will come up with something different today. I think he needs to if he's going to get the better of Marechko. Let's also look for Guillaume Bovan, the Canadian riding for the Israel Academy squad. And the other sprinters that can be present today. Adri Kulik, number 142 for the Kols cycling team. The Ukrainian, he was third yesterday. Martin Alas, number 5, also riding for the Delco Marseille provincial squad. There's been a crash. Whoa, there's been a rider go off the edge of the road and he is embedded in the bushes there. And that could be an H&R block rider from the Canadian team, I think. It is. It's a rider from the H&R block Canadian squad. And he looks to be in a lot of pain. Wow, that's not good signs. And his team car have stopped. Let's just look at the replay here, what actually happened. And you can just see on the left of the screen, he's been forced into the gutter. And he's come off. He's the only rider to come off there. Well, he is down and out. And it doesn't look good. Not sure if he'll even continue. Oh, that's not good signs for the Canadian squad there. Back with the front of the peloton now. And you can see the Israel Academy team moving towards the front on the left there. The rider with the green helmet, the black colours. Nippo Vini Fantini, they're now starting to do some work for Marini as well. Look for the Delco Marseille squad. They've been present a number of days in these sprint finishes. They've been high on the rankings. Maybe today it's a day for one of the lesser known teams to cause an upset, get the better of Marechko. They have to. Maybe it's a little bit of dirty work they need to engage in. Box him in, everything within the laws of cycling, but play a little bit dirty. He's won 3 consecutive stages, Marechko. Today he goes for number 14 and for number 4 in this year's race. United Healthcare in the blue colours on the left there, also trying to move up. Still in charge. Marechko now in 4th position. 2 kilometres to go. Remember, at 600 metres to go, they'll make a right-hand turn. That is the crucial corner. So in 1.3 kilometres, they'll make that right-hand turn. There's Van Engelen. He was in the breakaway. He's at the rear now. For him, it's just about surviving the stage. But for the riders out in front, there's a stage win at stake here. UCI points, and for some riders, it's a chance to gain a contract for the 2018 season. It's a chance to put their team on the stage, on the podium. Jason Lowndes now leading out there. You can see in the middle of the peloton in the dark colours, the Australian. He's had a good tour so far, 1.2 kilometres to go. So Lowndes now and the Israeli Academy squad have taken over. Lowndes is setting a good tempo. They've wrestled control of the Villa Trestina squad. He is emptying the tank, Lowndes. This is impressive riding, and they've got 3 riders behind. So they've got enough men. There's been another crash in the background. There's been another crash. And now they'll make the right-hand turn. So the Academy, the Israel Academy team, they're in the box seat. Marechko there, he is boxed in. It's going to take a big effort from Marechko. 600 metres to go. So Marechko, is he going to get out? He's got one teammate there. Let's look for the orange colours. There's Marini. Marini has been pushed out. Marechko now pushes towards the line. It's the Israel Academy though, and I think it's going to be a new winner. It is. My goodness me. My goodness me. What a stage. What a victory. What a victory. And in fact, it was the rider in the 200s. Let's take a look now at the replay. And you can see there the riders peeling off to the right who had done their job of the day. Marechko is still nestled in. There's the orange colours of Marechko. The Israel Academy squad, Jan Bovan, also trying to move up, but it's the rider on the left of the screen that pushes through to take line honours. Marechko on the right, Marini getting boxed out. And as our camera pans around, it's this rider on the left of the screen who takes the stage. So they did. They used a little bit of dirty tactics. Marechko got boxed in, and in the end, he was a clear winner. And what a victory. We'll get his name shortly. And look at the expression on the face. What a victory. Take another look now. And you can see Marechko clearly beaten on the line. Wow, look at the peloton right across the road. And he had time to sit up, throw the arms in the air.
Congratulations, Jean-Albert. What a sprint. Talk us through the last kilometer.
Yeah, difficult, no? Every day, lot of tension. The peloton in the last kilometer, more crash, everyday crash. And I come here with a good condition, no? Good legs. But the sprint, no good position, no good legs. But finally I can to win. I'm really happy.
Brilliant. And conditions today very tricky, very wet, so very nervous in the peloton?
Yes, in this tour, no good luck, no with the weather, because every day, well, every day no bad. 3 days rain, and I prefer hot. Yeah.
Congratulations, well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, what a victory. What a victory from John Abasturi. Brilliant performance from him riding for the Japanese team, Team Yoko. First victory for them here at Tour of Taihu Lake. Jakub Mareczko, he leads the individual classification. Marini, 9 seconds off. So it's all very tight at the top of the general classification. There's the jerseys that will be awarded very shortly indeed. The blue jersey there signifying the best young rider, the red, the best Chinese, the orange, of course, the overall leader of the race, worn by Jakub Mareczko, and the green jersey for the best sprinter, the points classification. Well, our reporter is wandering around there, and now we're going to go down to him on the presentation stage.
海门呢是一个具有自行车运动传统的一个城市。那么在刚刚结束的今年天津全运会上，我们海门输送的自行车运动员获得了2枚金牌、1枚银牌。那么自行车运动在我们海门是非常普及的。那么承办自行车赛呢，环太湖自行车赛呢，对我们来讲可以更好的融入苏南、融入长三角的一体化。那么也可以全面的展示我们海门的城市形象，提升我们海门的国际影响力和国内的影响力。那么从另外一个角度呢，承办环太湖赛对于我们这个真的贯彻这个全民健身的这个理念，把我们这个做强我们海门这个体育强势的品牌，都是一个非常好的一个尝试。
Well, thank you. Well, the minister there, he said Homan City has a proud history in sport, proud city of cycling, and they're proud to host the stage of the tour, and they hope that this event promotes Hayman domestically and internationally. So let's have a look at the general classification once more. 9 seconds is the gap between Mareczko and Marini, so he increased his advantage today. Jan Boven, he is the danger man at 17 seconds for my liking, the Canadian. Vitaly Bats, also the Ukrainian, at 18. Carlos Alzate at 19. And the list goes on, but the top 10 just separated by 23 seconds. So there's nothing in it, and it is all shaping up to being a really tight race when we come down to that final stage. So we're just waiting now to get the riders announced onto stage, stage winner, and all of the leaders in the respective jersey categories. You can see there the final preparations being done. All of the sponsors of the teams get put on those leaders' jersey. Big business, professional cycling, and sponsors, they want to see their names front and centre when their riders stand on those top steps. And today, we'll be seeing a new one. John Abasturi, a Spaniard. Who would have thought the Spanish can sprint? Known for their climbing prowess, but today he was able to take it out. So let's have a look now how the stage unfolded. The dignitaries set the riders off in damp conditions in Nantong. It was the Ukrainian squad of Team Coles who set the race alight at the start. Bovan, the Canadian, tried valiantly to get some points, but it was the Coles team that took the opening sprint of the day. Alexis Cartier, he was able to jump clear in the second sprint and tried to break clear as well. He dragged some riders with him. Castillo. And when they came to the finish line for the first time and the third sprint, Castillo got the better of him. It was a flat tyre for the Frenchman here, riding for Team Novo Nordisk, Giroud. No panic though. It was early days. He got himself going, got back in the cars and rejoined the peloton. For Bradishlook though, the rider out in the breakaway, also for Team Coles, he tried to go it alone. Good Canadian though would have none of it. He chased him down and he went one better. He said, "I'll keep on working." And it was a fist pump to let him know that he meant business. In the end, it was these last two, Castillo and Cartier. They were the last two remaining riders out in front from that break. and they were swallowed up inside the remaining kilometres. So it was all going to come down to a mass sprint, something that we envisaged at the day's start. And it was the Israeli Academy squad team that threw a cut amongst the pigeons. They wrestled control of Villa Triestina and the team of Jakub Mareczko in the remaining few hundred metres. They had 4 men here. Jason Lowndes, he was the one that drove the peloton along. He set it up for his teammate Guillaume Bovan, and they had the numbers. And as they went into the final corner, just 600 metres to go, you can see there Bovan is in third wheel. He's got the bandages on. Mareczko was boxed in. So a little bit of dirty tactics, everything within the laws of professional cycling. But they put Mareczko for the first time in this race on the back foot. So too Nicolas Morini. You can see Mareczko in the orange colours, Morini in the green. The Delco Marseille squad there trying to get their rider up in the front, Giroud. Morini got a little bit pushed out there by Mareczko. He pushed towards the line, but it was on the left of the picture. It was Abasturi, the Spaniard, who came from nowhere to win the race. And, well, I must admit, I couldn't pick him as he crossed the line, but what a brilliant ride. And he certainly deserves our applause. This man here, riding for a Japanese team, he comes from Spain, and today he delivered a big victory.